Welcome back everyone, it is Mike from ManaHoarders. In this video we are covering a deck tech for a pair of plundering pirate partner commanders, Breeches, Brazen Plunderer, and Malcolm, Keen-Eyed Navigator. You can cast Breeches, Brazen Plunderer for 3 and a red. He is a 3/3 goblin pirate with menace. His text reads, whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage to your opponents, exile the top card of each of those players' libraries. You may play those cards this turn. You may spend mana as though are mana of any color to cast those spells. And for 2 and a blue, you can cast Malcolm, Keen-Eyed Navigator. This 2/2 Siren Pirate with flying has text that reads, whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage to your opponents, you create a treasure token for each opponent dealt damage. The final price for this build came in at $70.76. This does include the price of our commanders and all of our lands. Now do bear in mind these prices will vary greatly depending on the quality of the cards you purchase, the vendor you use, and a variety of other factors. In terms of power level, I would rate this deck at around a 6 out of 10 on the power scale. It's pirate tribal, it's fun, it's crazy, we want to deal damage to our opponents, we want to steal their stuff, we want to create treasure, and we want to synergize and just generate as much value from our deck and the tops of their decks as well. Now let's dive into our creatures. First up we have our legends that will be helping out our commanders. Captain Lannery Storm, she is a 2/2 human pirate with haste. Whenever she attacks, we will create a treasure token, and whenever we sacrifice a treasure token, she will get +1/+0 until end of turn. And a new one from Commander Legends, Zara Renegade Recruiter. She is a 4/3 flying. Whenever she attacks, we will take a creature card from the defending player's hand, put it onto the battlefield under our control, tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. Then at the beginning of the next end step, we will put that creature back into that player's hand. And now let's take a look at some of our non-legendary pirates. Now, something to note about our commander's abilities is it says whenever a pirate we control deals damage. It does not specify combat damage. Hence, these first few cards, Emberwild Captain, whenever it enters will become the monarch, but the key here is whenever an opponent attacks us while we are the monarch, Emberwild Captain would deal damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand. And another very useful card, Glinthorn Buccaneer. Whenever it attacks, we can pay 1 and a red to discard a card and then draw a card. But his useful ability, whenever we discard a card, he will deal 1 damage to each opponent, meaning Breeches will trigger for each opponent, and Malcolm will trigger for each opponent, meaning we can get some more cards and get 3 treasure tokens potentially. And this was the same logic we chose for Lightning Rig Crew. We can tap to deal 1 damage to each opponent, and whenever we cast a pirate spell, we can untap Lightning Rig Crew, meaning we can potentially activate his tap ability 1, 2, or even 3 times in a turn, getting tons of value from both of our commanders. And we have Pirate Ship. For 5 mana we get a 4/3 that can't attack unless the defending player controls an island. Not really ideal in most cases, however it can tap to deal 1 damage to target creature or player, meaning that we can have it on the battlefield to ping one of our opponents to exile a card off the top or generate a treasure as needed. We also have Captivating Crew, Cloud Pirates, and Corsair Captain. Captivating Crew will allow us to take control of our opponent's creatures and use them against them. Cloud Pirates is a 1/1 we can cast for 1. It has flying, it can only block creatures with flying. And Corsair Captain, whenever it enters, will get a treasure token. It will give other pirates we control +1/+1. Crafty Cutpurse will let us steal any tokens that are generated under our opponent's control whenever it enters the battlefield. Daring Saboteur, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, we can draw a card and then discard a card. And it can also give itself unblockable for 2 and a blue. And we have Departed Deckhand. Whenever it becomes the target of a spell, we'll sacrifice it. It can't be blocked except by spirits. And we can pay 3 and a blue to make another target creature unblockable except by spirits as well. Kite Sail Corsair will have flying as long as it's attacking. Marauding Looter, it has raid. At the beginning of our end step, if we attack with a creature this turn, we can draw a card, and if we do, we'll discard a card. And we have Merchant Raiders, another new one from Commander Legends. Whenever Merchant Raiders or another pirate we control enters the battlefield under our control, we can tap up to 1 target creature. Then that creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as we control Merchant Raiders. Another new pirate, Port Raiser. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, we can untap each creature we control. Then after this combat, there's an additional combat phase, and Port Raiser cannot attack a player it has already attacked this turn. We also have Protean Raider. It has raid. If we attacked with a creature this turn, Protean Raider can enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. And we have Rishadan Airship. It has flying, can only block creatures with flying. Rishadan Brigand. It is a 3/2 with flying. Whenever it comes into play, each opponent sacrifices a permanent unless he or she pays 3. And then Rishadan Brigand can only block creatures with flying. We also have Siren Storm Tamer for 1. It is a 1/1 with flying. We'd also pay a blue and sacrifice it to counter target spell or ability that targets a creature we control. And Skyship Plunderer, it is a 2/1 with flying. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, for each kind of counter on target permanent or player, we can give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. Now, as you have probably noticed, we have a lot of very cheap pirates, but pirates that have a lot of forms of evasion between flying, can't be blocked, or can only be blocked by certain creatures. The same holds true for Slippery Scoundrel. It is a 2/2. It has Ascend. As long as we have the City's Blessing, it has hexproof and can't be blocked. We have Spectral Sailor for 1. It has Flash and Flying. We can also pay 3 and a blue to draw a card. And we have Stormfleet Sprinter. It has haste and can't be blocked. And our final 2 pirates, Time Stream and Navigator. It is a 1/1. For 2, it has Ascend. If we pay 2 and 2 blue and tap it, we can put Time Stream and Navigator on the bottom of its owner's library. Then we will take an extra turn after this one. We can only activate this ability if we have the City's Blessing. And Warkite Marauder. It is a 2/1 with flying whenever it attacks. Target creature defending player controls loses all abilities and has base power and toughness 0/1 until end of turn. Next up are our sorceries. With Chart a Course, we can draw 2 cards and then we will discard a card unless we attack with a creature this turn. Cleaver Riot, creatures we control will gain double strike until end of turn. Divination will allow us to draw 2 cards. Ghost Form makes up to 2 target creatures unable to be blocked this turn. Kindred Charge, we will choose a creature type, and for each creature we control of the chosen type, we will create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens have haste, and we will exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Open into Wonder makes it so X target creatures can't be blocked this turn, and they gain. When they deal combat damage to a player, we will draw a card. Part the Water Veil will make it so we can take an extra turn after this one. We will exile it, but we can also do Awaken 6 for 6 and 3 blue. We have Preordain. We can scry 2 and then draw a card off of this 1 blue sorcery. For 2 into red, Relentless Assault. We will untap all creatures that attacked this turn. Then after this main phase, there's an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. And a personal favorite of mine, Sleep. We will tap all creatures target player controls, and those creatures will not untap during that player's next untap step. Now let's take a look at our enchantments. We have Breath of Fury. We will enchant a creature we control. Whenever that enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, we will sacrifice it, attach Breath of Fury to a creature we control. Then if we do, we will untap all creatures we control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Coastal Piracy makes it so whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to an opponent, we can draw a card. Furnace Celebration, whenever we sacrifice another permanent, like our treasures, we can pay 2. And if we do, Furnace Celebration deals 2 damage to any target. We have Raid Bombardment. Whenever a creature we control with power 2 or less attacks, Raid Bombardment will deal 1 damage to the defending player. We have plenty of pirates with all sorts of forms of evasion, like flying and unblockable, meaning their power is generally a little bit lower. This will allow us to deal more damage to these defending players while drawing value from our commanders. And we also have Reconnaissance Mission, similar to Coastal Piracy. Whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, we can draw a card, and it has Cycling 2. Next up are our instants. We have Aetherize. We can return all attacking creatures to their owner's hands. Aether Spouts. For each attacking creature, its owner will put it on the top or bottom of its library. Artificer's Epiphany. We will draw 2 cards, and if we control no artifacts, we will discard a card. For 1 blue, we have Bluster Squall. We can tap target creature we don't control. We can also overload it to tap each creature we don't control. Buccaneer's Bravado. Target creature will get +1/+1 and gain first strike until end of turn, or target pirate will get +1/+1 and gain double strike until end of turn. Chaos Warp. The owner of target permanent will shuffle it into their library, then reveal the top card of their library. If it's a permanent, they will put it onto the battlefield. Disperse can return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. For 1 in the blue, Essence Scatter can counter target creature spell. Fiery Cannonade will deal 2 damage to each non-pirate creature. Lightning Volley. Until end of turn, creatures we control can tap and deal 1 damage to target creature or player, thus benefiting us from not necessarily having to go to combat to generate value from our commanders. Lookout's Dispersal. It will cost 1 less if we control a pirate, and we can counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. Mana Leak will counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Museum Skin. A target creature we control will get +0/+1 and gain hexproof until end of turn, or we can overload it so each creature we control will gain hexproof until end of turn. We have Negate to counter target non-creature spell. Opt will allow us to scry 1 and then draw a card. Pongify can destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated, and its controller will get a 3/3 green ape creature token. Rapid Hybridization will do something similar, will destroy target creature, and its controller will get a 3/3 green frog lizard creature token. Rewind will counter target spell, and we can untap 4 lands. And Send to Sleep, we can tap up to 2 target creatures. We will have 3 total artifacts in this deck. Mask of Memory. Whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, we will draw 2 cards and discard 1. Pillar of Origins, an excellent form of ramp in a tribal build. It'll tap to add 1 mana of any color as long as we cast a creature of the chosen type. And Soul Ring will add 2 colorless mana to our mana pool. And last but not least, we will be keeping our mana base very basic. We are running 17 basic islands and 18 basic mountains for a total of 35 lands. And just like that, we've reached the end of another Commander Deck Tech. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, tell your friends about us, and leave a comment down below. Let us know what commanders you would like to see us build around in the future. We really appreciate the support.